Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to My Oh My, the show that brings you as it is in black and white or in no color at all, as long as we bring it to you at the end of the day. This, of course, is the A to Z of life. And I know that I've been missing in action. Maybe I needed to take a break a little bit for self-reflection, uh, to do some soul searching, and even plan how the journey would pick up moving forward. A lot has happened. For those of you who follow me, you now know that every Saturday you will find me on West TV from 11 to 12, or from 10 to 11 and 11 to 12 on the Kiswahili program Dawati La Lugha, together with my brother Brian Odero. If you've not been watching, please, you really need to be following as we are going through various aspects of Kiswahili, but majorly uchambuzi wa tamthilia ya Bembea ya Maisha. But of course, quite a number of other programs that are running in ministry and in career and in so on and so forth. We are trusting God to launch a big thing in the near future. Continue praying with us. This is the A to Z of life. We did A for alive, we did B for breathing, we were consistent at C, and we were determined at D. We excelled in part 1 and 2 of E, and we talked about family at F. And now this is G. And I must say it's delicate, and it has taken me some time to decide whether or not I want to talk about it. But recently, I met a friend who told me that I'm no longer a liability. He insists that I'm actually an asset. He thinks that I've been a blessing to his life. And he celebrates me. Actually, I think as we speak, I might be his profile picture or something. And he told me that I am not a liability, I am an asset. And I must say it is his inspiration that has led me to decide to do this video. And so today we are doing G, and G is dedicated to grief. I'll try to make it shorter. It might have a few segments depending on how much time and how much would I be able to stretch myself emotionally to talk about a topic that I find quite tough on my side. And so, G for grief. I am not talking specifically to anyone in particular. Of course, I would be glad if at all eventually I end up speaking to somebody, but I think I'm doing this for the first time. I'm doing this for me and not necessarily for my viewer. I am hoping that I'll be able to speak about something that I've never spoken about. And I know that at the end of the day, it might look like I've been living a lie, because I have not been the happy person that many people have always thought that I am. But then everyone has always thought that I am a happy person. And so moving forward, I think I want to start being quite honest and sincere with my viewers and my fans about who exactly I am. And so as I talk about grief, I am going to be a little bit too personal. I may not necessarily push myself to inspire my listener or my viewer, because today I think I just want to talk to myself, and I hope that you'll be able to listen as I talk to myself. So imagine having offered or delivered a very serious, impactful sermon during a youth rally on a Saturday preceding the opening of your first semester of your second year in campus. The very last Saturday of that holiday, you've just delivered this sermon, and you are wiping your sweat, and you're just there praying and thanking God. If you're a preacher, you know what we're talking about. And you receive a call from your favorite auntie, and she tells you that a person you spoke to a few hours prior, a person with whom you had quite a lot of plans, she tells you he's normal. Well, that's how I lost my dad. And I had not grown up, really. I've not grown up with my dad per se. I am not a product of a nuclear family setup. I am a product of an extended family setup. And so there is an extent to which I was starting to build a friendship with my dad. I'm not getting to and do not diverge into what exactly had transpired. But I was building a friendship with my dad and I was getting quite excited. I remember going to the big city just before the revision of courses that would eventually guide me and lead me to a university. And he picked me up and we spent some nice time, father-dad bonding time with him. And so I joined campus and I was quite excited. He had become this reliable friend that I was just starting to learn exactly what kind of a person this person was, this man who hasn't been in my life per se. And he fell ill. Then I kept, for reasons that I've never been able to forgive myself, I hoped and I trusted that he'll get well and he'll get back home. He was admitted in hospital for some time. And then he was actually discharged. And then we did talk on phone for a long time that Friday evening. That phone call is still as fresh in me. He was to come home, and for reasons I wasn't able to establish, he was a little bit too excited about accompanying me to college, to campus really, on opening day. It looked quite disturbing. It's not all the time that a parent wants to accompany their child to campus on opening of a second year, not on admission. So I was like, hey, how am I going to introduce him to my friends? What will I say that he's come to do? But of course he had said that, and I thought if this is going to help build this relationship, it's okay. Let him come. He instructed me to forgive my two mothers. Maybe later on we'll get to talk about that. But he did ask me quite passionately to forgive my real mom and my stepmom. I did tell him that I will, but I insisted that I would wish that we had a candid conversation around quite a number of issues that surrounded the conflict that existed between me and them. Of course, he promised that we are going to have that conversation. So I slept, and on Saturday I knew Daddy is going to travel from Nairobi to home. I left to go and preach. And I finished preaching and people got born again. And my aunt called. And she dropped the news. I lost track of time. I think there's a segment of time that doesn't exist in my memory. I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what transpired between we've lost him and some pastors coming to our house and praying. I really have no idea how I even got back to that house. Life lost meaning. For some reason, I was living to make him very proud. For some reason, I felt like he had not existed in my life for some time. Deep in me, I felt jealous that he was with my stepmom and my step siblings. and that he didn't spare quite a lot of time to be with me. And so I lived to either make him proud or prove to him that I was worth the effort that he didn't give, that I was worth the time that he didn't give me, that I was worth the finances that he didn't spend on me, that I was worth, the love and the care that I didn't get from him. And so I wanted to sing so that he would know that his son could sing. I wanted to excel so that he could know that his son could excel. And a week later, looking at him in that coffin, he was the first very close person that I lost in my life. I didn't see why I needed to live. I didn't see why I needed to sing. Those of you who know that I sing, probably that's where my singing ended. And a lot of other things, because I didn't see the essence of life from that point on. And so life lost meaning, and I've never been able to recover that meaning. And we laid him to rest. And of course, I was told that time is going to heal. I was told that time is a healer. That was in 2013. Today is 2022. And time has not healed. Eventually, I became a fearful person. And I lost a lot. Daddy died with my dreams. Daddy died with my passions. He died with a part of me, and I've never been able to bring that part back to me yet. So sometimes I feel he left a bit too early. Sometimes I feel that I will not be able to fit in his shoes. I ended up sitting on his chair in a few too many capacities, especially in the extended family. And I appreciate that my family has this confidence in me. But many are the times that I sink my heads on my pillows and wonder, how capable am I to take up some of these responsibilities? A little later, I had a cousin who, for some reason, I had a very strong bond with. I'll not divulge much into this. But again, I did lose this cousin. I don't think I've ever traveled to go and meet an infant, like being the very agenda for my traveling. But I did travel to meet this infant. And sometimes I look at photos that I did take with him later on, we had this very nice, strong bond with him. I quite honestly didn't realize that there's a way I just had a very strong bond with this cousin of mine. A part of me believed that he would take after me, especially on matters of spirituality. And when we lost him, I remember breaking a few glasses in my house, going a bit berserk. I remember a friend had visited and he wasn't able to console me as much. For the respect of the parents, I will not diverge much into this. But again, when Nixon left, I felt like God cheated me. I felt like I wasn't so sure about a few things that I believed a bit too much in. I thought life was a bit too unfair. And it left me with quite a number of questions. And then a little later, I lost the second most important and most powerful pillar of my life. My grandpa. So I've told you Daddy was not so much part of my life, especially in childhood. So my grandpa was the dad that I knew. My grandpa was my friend. My grandpa understood me. He would listen to me carefully and intentionally. Rarely would he question my decisions. He believed strongly in my wisdom. He believed strongly in my abilities to make informed decisions. He believed strongly that I was his first grandchild, and he was a little bit too proud about that. He carefully led me the path to adulthood. He carefully corrected me. A number of my cousins have memories of Grandpa punishing them. He had a way of punishing people with a finger. I wouldn't say that I have that memory per se. He dealt with me mostly with the word of mouth. And he would always teach me, and I would accompany him quite a number of errands. And he got out of his way to ensure that I was safe. On one occasion, I remember him writing a letter to my dad, demanding that he takes responsibility over my education, I think, or life in general. I can't remember exactly what the issue was. When I last visited him, before he passed on, we were not able to converse, and that hurts me. We were not able to converse because he was a bit too critical in his health. I hung around a little long to see whether at least he would be able to converse with me. We were able to hug, but we really weren't able to converse. So I hope to get back later when he would be conscious enough to converse. That later was never to be. The fateful morning when he left us, at first I thought I was prepared for his passing on. He was advanced in age, he had been unwell. Of course, subconsciously one would be prepared for an eventuality of losing your loved one, especially when they have been unwell for some time. And if at all they are advanced in age, now that gets to be a bit more serious. But later I discovered that I wasn't ready. Later I discovered that he's the father that I had remained with. He's the one man that I could talk to and he could understand me. Grandma is loving. Grandpa was understanding. There was a way they struck a balance in giving me that warmth and that comfort. I want to end this segment here by pinpointing 3 things that have happened in my life with these 3 major heavy losses in my life. My grandma feels sometimes that I rarely visit home. I naturally fear the idea of being helpless. Those who are close to me know that. It's I think the worst fear. I just fear being quite helpless. The sight of those 2 graves at home makes me so helpless. So helpless. Of course, I know I shouldn't be questioning God's decisions and such, but I always feel they should have lived a little longer. Why couldn't my grandpa be among the people who lived to the age of 100, 120 and so on? Why did he have to pass at the age of 84? As I was a bit young, why couldn't he get to 90? Why couldn't he get to 100? I have seen people get to 100, and so I question, why couldn't he get to 100? Why couldn't my dad live a little longer? Why couldn't he wait until I graduated at least? Why couldn't he wait to see me become a man? He died when I was still a boy. I mean, a campus guy is basically a boy. He wasn't able to see me on TV, for example. Today I would say that I'm on TV. He wasn't able to see that, and quite a lot of things. My grandpa had predicted a lot of things about my life. He was confident that I was going to achieve quite a lot. Seeing their 2 graves breaks my heart so deeply. And so their loss has made me develop some uncontrolled fear. I quite strongly fear seeing their 2 graves. The parents to the cousin I lost were blessed with a baby boy. He's big right now. Not quite sure about his age, but he's big, he's walking and talking around. And I've not been able to bring myself to visit him. I've not been able to be of support to my aunt because myself, I need support, and no one seems to know that I need support. And that just gets to be too delicate. Those losses coupled with a major blow of depression that I had to go through a couple of months ago, maybe a year, not a couple of months ago, but maybe a year ago, have made me to be a loner. I fear being too attached because I don't know how to let go. And I know that I'm this counselor who helps people to let go. And I know many of you watching this are going to wonder, why would Meshack say that he is not able to let go? Because I know quite a lot of people that have been able to help to let go, and they actually tell me that you did a miracle. And so I fear being attached these days. I fear falling in love. I fear being committed. Because what these three losses did to me, they brought the reality of death a bit too close to me. For a long time, I had not experienced death from that very personal point. To imagine that I would be in a burial ceremony and I'll be seated at the far front, meaning that I'm the most aggrieved person by the death. I had never really thought that kind of a time would come, yet it did come. To imagine that we'll be at the gravesite and I'll be expected to be amongst the first people to get hold of a lump of soil and throw to the grave, and the sound of that lump of soil hitting on the very coffin or the very casket of your loved one, it remains embedded in your memory forever. I have never been able to forget how it sounded when it fell on my dad and how it sounded when it fell on my grandpa. And some noisy choir that, for reasons I've never been able to understand, they sang so loudly and rigorously, and for a moment I thought they are celebrating his death or something. These are memories that I've refused to get out of my head, and so death became so real, and in its reality it created a great extent of fear. And so I fear losing people. I fear the idea of losing someone that I love so much. I've lost a young loved one, I've lost middle-aged loved one, and I've lost an elderly loved one, and that has made death to be so real. Sometimes nights don't seem to make sense. Sometimes life doesn't seem to make sense. When I feel like I want to talk to an elderly person, and I remember that would have been my grandpa, and pick up my call, and then dawns that he's not there to pick up that call. I deleted Dad's phone number 2 or so years ago. Grandpa's number is not yet deleted in my phone. I always imagine that one day he's going to pick up my call. I always imagine that one day he's going to lead a family prayer meeting like he would always do in the evenings. Allow me end this segment here. In the part 2, I will want to attach my story with a few practical steps maybe on how to deal with grief. And of course that second part will lead us to a third part. And if at all it will not be done by the third part, we might get to the fourth part. I pray that my loved ones will continue to rest in eternal peace. May God bless the three of them in their graves. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. And if you're going through the loss, the pain of losing a loved one, I want to encourage you that you're not alone. And I know that it's not as easy. I say this because I've experienced it and I continue to experience the pain every single day of my life. And I just hope and pray that you will be able to navigate as I try myself to navigate. My name is Meshack Omuhaka, Mkenya, and this has been the show, My Oh My. God bless you. God bless Kenya. Let's pray for peace.